Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. What's up, Lynn? What's up, Milo? How's it going? Thank you very much, Lynn. I appreciate it. Little last minute decision to switch the stream days around. So we're here today rather than here tomorrow. Shall we switch this around? Let's switch this around. What's up, everybody? How's it going? I think we'll leave this music on for a bit, for a change. How's it going? Luckily, I already had a little bit of a draw today, so I had a little bit of content kind of somewhat planned in a way, or ahead of time. So got something to draw, which is always good. Sometimes I have to always plan these live streams in a way, have something to draw. Milo says, so you're going to party tomorrow? Who knows? Who knows? But I thought about it, didn't want to do it tomorrow, wanted to do it today instead. So here we are. If you're hanging out with us in the chat, please be sure to drop into the chat. Thank you, Jesse. How are you doing? I had to whack together a last minute thumbnail. Right, what are we drawing? What am I drawing before we get started? I've been messing around with this earlier today. This is the concept. I really wanted to make it a bit like those sort of painting designs I've done where it's nice and loose to an extent, and has a sort of main focal point, things that focus far and near, and yeah, that's it really. That's what we're gonna go with. Yeah, I mean I love it. I also created another variation of it which had like a different color tone, but it's more like one of those things you do right at the end of the video, just make those last minute color adjustments, see what we can change and stuff, and then yeah, just tweak it in a certain way. But I really like this one again for the I want to make it as simple as possible. At the minute I've got a real bad habit of, not bad habit, I don't really care that it is, but I'd like to try and adjust it if I can, is I'm making the videos too long than they need to be. Like, it's whether it's a bit of explanation here and there, too long or whatever, they could be a little bit shorter. Whereas this, I know we can get through relatively quickly. Now, I've just noticed one thing that I'm not too confident about, which is actually the sky's actually out in focus to an extent. But that could be the clouds above. Yeah, okay, we'll let that slide. So that's what we're going for. I've got a little guide that I've obviously already done. Let me just quickly, I want to show you the color adjusted version, just so you can see what it is we're going to aim for instead of just this one. So I think this is it. Let's switch that around. So this is like the full color that I already did, and then this is like a different version just with adjustments to the color balances. So it brings in a lot more warm tones. We've got some more magenta and orange, magenta and sort of orangey red tones, which I think look really cool. I think it gives it like a really, because it's got quite a lot of blue and teal, it gives it quite a vintage kind of look to it, especially with this like kind of framing on the top and stuff, which I really like. So I'll kind of go hit and miss depending on which one I feel like I want to do, like actually, sort of show everyone. This one looks lovely. I love the colours of it. It's nice and bright. It pops. But the kind of vintage look of that, I really do quite like the look of. Right, so let me back out of here. Yeah, I like the red as well, Lynn. I like the red as well. I think it's just got that really nice vintage. I think because the whole design's got quite a lot of blue tone to it, it's nice to have those alternative colours in there. Because I've got a habit of making my designs very mono. They're quite, yeah. They tend to have quite a sort of simple, straightforward color palette. I don't get too adventurous with the colors, What's up, Mayak? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for dropping in as well. Appreciate that. Cool. I've kept the frame from earlier. We've got the stencil guide here, so I'm just going to lower that down and get to work on creating some of the elements of this. So I'm trying to like use this as a really good guide right now to see how long or how quick we can make this type of design, basically. And I think I'm just going to somewhat crack. Which way should I go? I think we basic shape everything first. Yeah, I think we basic shape everything first, and then we get to work on it. Okay, right, let's get to canvas. Drawing guide. The drawing guide was already present. Cool. Let's just start getting to work on filling all this in. So I'm going to provide, of course, the stencil guide like I always do. Initially, my concept was like I would spend a lot of time on this. Like I really wanted to. I kind of was quite inspired by watching Angry Miko earlier today, and was like, do you know what? I really fancy doing something. You know, I'm going to be brutally honest against myself. You know, I don't think I could create anything like he does. But I mean, I watched a video of his earlier, and he was like, "Yeah, this took me 30 hours." I was like, I don't know. Maybe if I had 30 hours, I could. But you know, the guy's extremely, extremely talented. I always say that. Who knows? Who knows? Who's hanging out with us this evening while I am drawing? Be sure to drop into the chat if you are hanging out. What's up, Mike? Let me catch your comment in just a second. How do you choose colours for your artworks? I'm always struggling with that. It's actually something that, like, I would not sort of get down on yourself too much. Is in like it's something I can struggle with a lot of the time as well. Like grabbing colours and picking the right colour and stuff is very tricky. You've got to kind of it's hard. It's a really tough kind of thing to answer as well. It's almost a matter of like you're just using reference images or just I tend to start with the palette a lot of the time. Like if I know I'm going to do something like this, I know I want a pretty clean blue sky. I want something nice and bright and punchy, and you know I want something that's going to have that really big blue tone, and then I know, well, okay, well from there I can definitely build off of that and maybe make like I adapt the water. I'll actually show you later on, Mike, how this actually came about and the progression. I tell you what, I'll show it you right now while we're on the subject, because it's actually probably a good thing to show. If I go to here a second, I think this actually, because I duplicated the canvas, I should have the full time lapse available. Let's go into video and let's go to time lapse replay. If we zoom out of here, started off with the sketch phase. So this is all off my own bat. So it started off with the sketch phase, just sort of working out. So you can see initially I actually went with like a 3-column design there. You might just about be able to see that. If I zoom in, I actually went back and I was going to do like this like sort of small 3-tiered on both sides, like going inwards design. But then I changed the perspective and then created that kind of point in the middle. So I started off by just saying, well, I know in a sky you always want a gradient of colour. So I grabbed the blue that I put in there and then just tested a blue and went with it. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of the time, just get a colour in, get a block in, and then build on top of that, you know. See what colour works with it. What's up, Ryan? How you doing? Hello, Joel. Happy early 30th. I remember 30. It was 100 years ago. Appreciate you dropping in, Ryan. What's up, Funky? How's it going? What's up, Lauren? Thank you so much, Lauren. So, whose question was this again? Mike. And then clouds. You know, clouds has a straightforward couple of tones. You can have a bright white tone, then you can have a slightly grey tone, or make it a little bit more blue. And then again, I just went in with leaves. Leaves are generically green, but I know the light source, I need to make it a little bit of a darker green, and then add brighter greens, and then, you know, you can see there I actually experimented with some orange in the sky. Just chuck colours in and see what you feel. If you don't like the vibe of it, just strip it out. I also like tried to go for a really bright sort of spot in the middle there. Didn't like it. These little sort of stepping stones, they were quite dark initially like that, and they end up getting a lot brighter later on because what I do is I make colors and then I'll go to the hue saturation slider on a layer and just adjust it, like maybe boost the brightness or adjust the color slightly, saturate it more, and I'll just tweak and tweak and tweak, lots of little tweaks everywhere. Lauren says, I won't stay as I'm at work for now. That's no problem. I appreciate you dropping in there, Lauren. What's up? Funky, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then, yeah, just experimenting with different colors. You can see at this point, I actually experimented with some like pinky sort of red tones, which I later just removed. Just chucking in colors. And then at this point, I was like, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I go for a red tree instead? And then backed out of that eventually. It did look okay, but it didn't give me quite the same look that I liked on the first one. And then we progress on. So let me back out of there. Let's carry on where we are and carry on blocking everything in. Now I don't know if I need to create these on separate layers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start at the top being this color. And we will go for, oh damn it, let's plug this in. Thank you, Lauren, I appreciate it, and thank you, Funky, I appreciate it. Lauren says, I do love watching a playback of the pieces drawn. Love that Procreate feature. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of brand new users know about it. Like, I think they think sometimes that there's like some sort of special software that people are using. Because I remember my soon-to-be sister-in-law, she uses Procreate as well, and she was. I said to her once, I was like, you know, you can watch all this back, right? She said, what do you mean? And I showed her and she was like blown away. Okay, that's cool. We got them in on separate layers. We'll get the rocks in, which I cannot remember for the life of me. I think it was maybe this color. Oh, which I have not even adjusted, so they're going to be wrong technically. Let's get this song changed as well. That playlist was a little bit too nuts. Home for this day, recovering from a viral. Wow, are you okay, Milo? Are you on the mend, or is it bad? I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. What's up, Robs? Yep, little day early. Did not fancy it in the end, doing it tomorrow. Alright, so it's heading off now. Bye everyone. Send me stay awakey vibes for the night shift. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of your shift. Thank you, Lauren, for dropping in. I really appreciate when people do that. They're like mid-shift or something, or, you know, I'm in the middle of a meeting right now, but I've just opened you up in the background. I'm like, yeah, I respect that. Love that. It'll be my birthday tomorrow, Robs. To answer your question. Just getting some sort of stepping stones, really kind of nothing sort of too serious really with the shapes. Just trying to do like the sort of side profile of them a little bit separate from the top, just in case I need to separate them out. I think this is what we'll do in the actual one as well. We'll make sure that these are separated, just so we've got some space to do what we want with, you know. And then I think at this point I think we'll work on the sky. We'll get the sky started and we'll move from there. And it's going to be kind of like that Nico Roll style painting that I like, with the dry ink brush on top of it, because I'm just such a fan of it. What are you doing for your birthday? I mean, I'm working tomorrow. And so it's going to be somewhat like a pretty normal day, to be honest. I don't know if we've got anything planned for the evening at all. But other than that, it's a pretty, it's a normal day. Maybe we'll do something nice at the weekend. But yeah, it's one of the first sort of birthdays where, like, Mrs. Crate as well, she is also working her birthday, which is like a week after mine. And so it's like one of the first sort of years where that's been the case. Like, we usually like book it off, we'll have like the whole week off of like in between ours, and have sort of time to, you know, chill out and stuff, enjoy the summer, do whatever we want to do. But because we've got, you know, time off shortly just after the wedding and stuff, we needed to work them both, really. Minus is on the mend. Joe having problems since Sunday. It's an infection near pneumonia. Near to pneumonia. But I'll be alright. Well, I'm glad you're alright. I hope you're back to full fitness soon. Not a lot of luck, you and your husband at the minute, eh? So yeah, we're working. To answer your question, I'll be working tomorrow. So yeah, nothing sort of majorly planned or anything. My birthday present to myself turned up the other day, which was an espresso coffee machine. Very, very happy with that bad boy. I graduate these clouds, make them a little bit smaller from back to front. I know the blue goes a little bit funny on camera, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm glad that he's back doing all right. Let's then reduce this bad boy down, and we'll get it in. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging a little bit. Yes, like tomorrow, for example. I wanted to make sure you guys had something, like stream-wise. I always get a little bit of guilt when, you know, I feel like I'm definitely not going to be here. So it's yeah, always nice to try and just make a little bit of extra effort and time. And you've said many a times, and I appreciate it, but I know you guys also appreciate, you know, the time. Cool. Get to the smudge tool. Start smudging out some of these clouds, leaving little sort of leaving little areas nice and kind of crispy, but also just make sure we've got lots of streakiness in the sky. Fluffing out some of these clouds, leaving some of the residue almost, as I like to always say, leaving some of them a bit sharp and a little bit, you know. At the end of the day, we're going to cover up some of this as well. My husband is coffee mad. We have an insane coffee machine and separate grinder. Yeah, see, like I feel like that's the next level. Like this Nespresso one, this is like their Virtuo line, so it's like you get like it's like a pod system. I feel like that's like the next step up with your husband there, Robs, of like, you know, where you take it to the next level of, you know, actually like going for like the beans yourself and like, you know, all of that kind of stuff, and quite literally replicating a barista job in your own house. Let's start smudging out some of these clouds down here, just making sure this is lovely and blurry down here. I have to make sure that that's a little bit blurrier based on what we were talking about earlier about perspective and things being blurry and things not. I am loving this technique at the minute for just creating like clouds and sky. It's so fun, so easy as well with like the Dove Lake, just to create some really lovely wispy soft clouds, very soft clouds. And we can push up some of this at the bottom. It's a slippery slope, is it? Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. Cool. Some lovely cloud work in there. I'm going to jump to somewhat towards the top here now and get started on I can hear the music stuttering, so I apologize if the stream is stuttering. It shouldn't be, but it appears to be. My computer is stuttering like crazy. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate you guys if you're dropping a like on the video. As Milo said, it helps me out a bunch if you do that. What it does is it basically lets everybody tomorrow know that, well, this was a good video, and YouTube chucks it back out to those people tomorrow and they can have a good old watch back in the morning if they could not make it. I don't expect a lot of people to make it. It's an odd day. It maybe just about fits in with most people's schedules when they're at work. So I appreciate that. It might be a little bit tricky today. Okay, got some good green in there. Then we'll go down to here, we'll create some bushes so the green colours are a little bit different. This one's like a bit more muted. I love this brush. Maybe drop that down as well, though. Fill in the centre a bit more. By the way, I'm not ignoring Milo's point about the car crash. I already knew. So just in case you guys think I'm being a bit passive on it, I already knew. Okay. I don't want people thinking, God, Milo just, let Joel know about that, and then he just sort of pied it off. I'm not that much of an ass. Has the music just completely stopped now? Right, cool. And then we'll also go ahead and on the same layer, we've got some nice darker tone as well. So this is going to be the majority of this side. Gauge and blur that out. About 5 or 6, I think we can get up to. Create a new layer above that. Clipping mask it in. Go in with some green again. Set this to overlay. And some brighter edges to it. What's up, Jay? Happy early birthday. I had a feeling you would do a live stream today. Well, you were right. We're here a day early. Guys, and blur that out. Probably duplicate it again. Just we've got some nice sort of the lighting I'm kind of imagining is about down here. So coming across will be lovely on top of there. And I think we can also clipping mask in some extra darker tones, and I think I may have even set these to overlay as well. Yeah, I did. Just a little bit up there, but more darkness over here. A little bit of extra darkness over here. I'm trying to be very sparing with it. Lovely. Nice. It's quite dense in, but I don't mind it. Let's group all that together. Collapse that down. Let's then move to the next step, which is the water. No, let's actually do the mountains. And the mountains are easy. Base color. Thank you, Tita. I appreciate you dropping in, and I appreciate the message. Thank you. Let's just drag this down into here. Drag that into there. Great stuff. We'll also add in some color, really nice and simple shapes on here. Keeping it really simple. I've got another tutorial that kind of uses this in sort of interpretation of having to create sort of the highlights on top of mountains, which comes out this week. Let's then also add in some brighter tones on the back end of this one and kind of run down a little bit. Add in some brighter tone on there maybe. Just keep it simple. We'll clip them together. Gosh, and blur them. It's about 4%, I believe. Let's turn off our draw. Whoa. Canvas, turn off the drawing guide. Yep, that's fine. And turn off the actual guide as well. Don't need that one for a minute. Okay, let's get into this clipping. Get into that. Oh, is that right? Yep, that's right. Painting Nico roll. Rob says, I'm on this healthy eating vibe. No dairy, no carbs, no junk. I don't eat meat anyway. But seriously, I feel like a poor person, always hungry. Thank you, Jay. Tita says, I like Joel's work. It's a pleasure to follow. Thanks. You are very welcome. And I really appreciate you dropping in and sharing the love. Really do. This color doesn't quite seem right. Oh, it is. It is somewhat correct. Okay. Now I need to work out, yes, what I did. Coffee I can do without, but I love milky tea. Oh, tea is awful. I hate tea. I was talking to my mate about it today. It's absolutely honking. But that's a preference. So we're all allowed to like different things. Get brightest tone again. looks a little bit bright compared to the last time I did it. Very, very bright. But we got, okay. I might have to go back and adjust this later. I've only drawn this once, so right now it's a bit of a hit or miss. Why is that not showing? Oh, it's because I've got the full layer in front of me. That's why. Let's turn that off. Grab this, drag that down. Gaussian blur it out and just lower that down a tiny bit. Cool, it's coming together nicely. It's coming together nicely. I hate tea. It's not, it's crap. Thanks, Robs. They're nice and bright. I've definitely been trying to use a few different sort of tones recently, some brighter tones, which is like a bit of a out of comfort zone a tiny bit, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But sometimes you got to keep trying all these different things. What's up, MC? What's up, Justin? How's it going? Thanks for dropping in. Right, which layer are we on? The bottom one. Go up one. We're just trying to create a little bit of separation between these steps for a minute. Just before we sort of merge all the layers together. Just so there's some actual separation. So that there's some actual separation between them. And we'll go up to this layer too. Tita says, what was the brush for the greenery? That is a variation of my snow gum brush. So it's just another version that I've created. This tutorial, I'm not sure where this is going to come out yet. So there are tutorials where I believe I've already provided that brush as a freebie, but it might be in Patreon tutorials. I can't really remember. I'm going to create some separation between these a second. It's very simple. Separation under there. And then I think we can get to work shortly on adding in some cool details. Let's go to the top surface of these a second. So clipping masks. Let's go ahead and let's use something. I didn't use the stucco brush earlier, or stucco, whatever. This is what I mean. This is how quick and easy I want this tutorial to be. Like, just, you know, that's it. That's all I want people to do for the rock. The rock surface there. Just keep it real simple. Keep it nice and easy. Because the whole thing we're going to kind of go over the top of in a second with the with a few different brushes to add in some sort of dry ink lines and stuff. So just like dashing in some of this blue in here. And then maybe even grabbing some lighter tone as well, just to kind of bring in some color around these edges. Using the stucco, all the same thing. Chuck in some color on the edges. And again, I'm imagining my light source is coming across from that right hand side a little bit. So I can just maybe darken up a few like little edges here and there, just a tiny bit. A couple more darker grooves in the rock. Well, it's probably a bit much. And those ones back there are so small. Shouldn't really get into too much detail in those. And then the other thing I want to do is just create a new layer that's clipped to that. Use one of these nice light bright colors. Airbrush it, probably. Soft airbrush. Bring that down. Add in like a little bit of reverb of the light. Just a little bit of a glow. What layer am I on? The wrong one. And just like a really light amount of sort of reverb of the water. I want it to have that kind of real, almost kind of tropical look to it. I'm probably not 100% yet on the colors, but I think if I was to make the tutorial as it stands with the current palette, I would still be happy with it. You can always tweak and tweak and tweak and make like adjustments to colors. Okay, that's done. I think now it's just a matter of, where's that bottom step? There it is. Let's go ahead and just add in a bit of a glow of water across the bottom there as well, just like a little bit of color. And also let's go ahead and just kind of feather out the bottom edge, just like take away like it's in the water. Okay, after that I think we're good, and we can, what did I do? I think last time, so just this is what I drew earlier. This is the equivalent. So this is what I mean, like in here we've got lots of sort of dry ink lines and stuff, and this has got to be like highlighted and lined in and stuff. But when you zoom it out, you know, it's nice and collapsed, all the details quite crushed down. So let's go into here, and I believe this was my highlight tone, and I think it was one of these was my shadow tone. Let's go for this one. Let's go dry ink and let's get to work. So we can kind of darken up the back end of here. And I really enjoy designs where we kind of do this, where we're just going to draw on top. So we're not clipped to any layer. It's really, really quite, it's a bit of a confidence kind of, you've got to have just a bit of confidence to just crack on with it on the same layer above everything. So, you know, we're not clipped to anything. We don't get any of those sort of lovely benefits of any of that stuff. We are simply just freehanding it. Feels a bit more kind of real sometimes when you do it like this, where you've got no choice. There's no backups. You can't sort of just delete a layer and then crack back on. And I like it because it's just like, it's a bit risky at the same time. Darken up the back of that. Lovely stuff. And just tipping the pen on its side to get some kind of nice sort of almost charcoaly like lines on the back there. And that's got so much more contrast to it already. And we're going to basically have a shadows layer. And we're going to have a highlight layer. Well, just call it high. That'll do. And then we kind of just crack on with the exact same process of just adding in some highlights on the edges where you feel it's necessary. So like that brush maybe could do with being a bit smaller, and then I can be a bit more accurate with it. Like the inside block here, the underside of that block. I'll go in there and probably add some shadows in there in a second. The underside of here and across this edge. Kind of blend it in a little bit. Cool. We're going to get a little bit sort of more brave and just add in a little bit more color under there. A straight line down here. Cool. Who's hanging out with us? Who's still watching? You still watching? You still awake? light source came from the right. Why? The light source is over here. Yet to add it in. So that lighting is just sort of just bouncing around the whole scene. Right, what are you debating there, Milo? You got me second guessing what I'm doing here now. What's that? Alright, fair enough. Got me panicked then for a second. We spotted something pretty catastrophic that I'd not done. It always feels quite messy to do it like this though, but I love that. Like I love that it's a bit I always say it, like the one word I always use is just loose for it. That's cool. Happy with that. Also, when you always zoom out, it just looks so cool. I love it. Let's go back to our highlights and some extra highlight on the steps and stuff. Rob says, I would love a lesson, not the T word, on flowers. I cannot do flowers for the love of money. What type of flowers in terms of like realism? Are you thinking like, what is it you're thinking? Because James just put out a tutorial on YouTube yesterday, day before, whatever. Like a flower field. If you haven't already checked that out, go check it out. James Julia. Nice. Now, let me just check the one I did. I think last time, yeah, I rushed it a little bit. So it's got very, very crazy highlights and shadows where I've been a bit more neat this time. I could get in there with white if I really wanted to, but it may overdo it. There's only like in a few areas that you could get away with that. Over here on the right hand side maybe. Maybe the underside over here. Just some nice crispy white elements. Yeah, I like that. Loose flowers, similar to the swans. Okay, that's interesting. Seems something in my realm of possibilities that I could do. Let's go here and create a new layer. We shall see. I can't make any promises, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's go back actually to the sky, because I now need to make that light source we were talking about, which is this color here. It's ever so slightly got a little bit of yellow to it. There you go, just kind of breaking over the top of there. I can blend that across. It's probably a bit much, but for now that'll do. That shows me where my lighting needs to be. I can go back to this layer here and start to get really kind of scratchy and loose with the colors in the surface of the water. I think I'm going to go with this color first and go to inking and dry ink, and then we'll try and just get some lovely little crispy sort of teal lines across the water here. Sometimes it acts as a highlight, sometimes it acts as a shadow. Totally depends really on where it lands. And then we'll manually, with this brush as well, do the shadows as well in the water, which will look really cool. And this is exactly what I mean. I want to keep it really, really loose, really, really easy to do, but create something really, really nice that you're happy with. Let's move to maybe this tone here, which is part of, what part is that part of? What colors are they from? They might actually be the watercolors. They're lighting, and we did them already, so they're already in there. Okay, fine. Ryan says, I require more picks like the swans. So this is kind of in that territory. This has got the Nico Roll, the dry ink, in that territory. If you haven't already seen Ryan, this is the final result. If I turn this one on, we've got that cool framing that we did last time as well. Yeah, just that's kind of the vibe. It's very much built off the same concept as the other one. Yeah, okay, so we're adding in all this streakiness in the water right now. That's fine. We'll move to this brighter tone here again. So this is kind of going to be focused a bit more over here. And then I think this is the tone we then use. I believe maybe it is just a white. And we create a new layer above the rocks. We just kind of run this around the base of some of here. Around the base and across the front of some of them. It doesn't have to be neat, it doesn't have to match. Thanks, Ryan, appreciate it. Thank you, Jay, appreciate that too. Flowers in a vase, loose abstract vibe. It's the perspective again. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Thanks, Robs. That turquoise is my fave. Oh, well, okay. The last one had a completely different vibe to it than this one. But that's okay for a minute. What did I do for the shadows? I think I might have even like medium blended it. For example, like here we just like we can put the shadows here. That line's coming across this way. So that like line here, for example, gets like pushed across the water a little bit. That's probably a little bit too detailed. Need to keep that to a sort of minimum. A little something like this maybe. In terms of that's probably a bit too much as well. That's fine. Got to do around the base of some of these rocks as well. Probably keep that a little bit smaller. Go around the base of this one, push that bad boy out to the left, go around the base of this, just push that out. Not quite so much to the left. That's much nicer with that just bit of contrast in the ground or on the surface of the water. Why does that keep detaching? Yeah, it's much nicer. Yeah, you could put something in the middle like a portal, I guess. That'd be quite a cool idea. Jay says today's actually my friend's birthday. Now I won't forget either one of your birthdays. Rob says not feeling very inspired at the moment. Learning a new program that's doing my head in. I'm literally mind blown. What is it you're working on? What sort of program? Okay, what else did I do then? Like, I'm looking at mine from before, and there was I think I've gone a bit too crazy with those colors. They look like they've gone a bit. Oh no, maybe I did make them as bright as that, but maybe it was back here that they are a little bit less. So like, it's hard to tell. My Mac is like very dark. Okay, let's have a look at the one I did earlier. They're pretty close actually. I just need to carry on with the white lines, which I stopped. So we'll go back in with the white. We'll go back in with dry inking, and we will. Oh, you are joking. Where did I put that? There. Thank God. Thought I put something like in the wrong space completely then. And so over here, we've got the light source just there. I'm imagining that, like, you know, on the surface of the water, although we've got the reflection of the mountains over here, we've just like kind of just left to right a bit more, just to kind of show that that's where the light source is coming in. You know, just a few extra little sort of little patches in the water there, so it's a little bit brighter over there. We still have like a few over here that are nice and sort of very soft. A couple over there, keeping it quite easy off the side here. Are you using the smudge tool, John? No, not in this one. I used it in the sky for the clouds. I'm happy with that. I want to keep it very streaky. I like this aesthetic to it. It's just like sometimes you've got to get back in the flow of those sort of designs, and you know, kind of accept that kind of aesthetic a bit more. A couple of white lines across the base of there, just to kind of show like the water sort of up against that little spot. That's cool. It's looking nice. It's looking nice and streaky. Yeah. What else was there? Coral Painter. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. So GM, how's it going? Change the gate to a Tory. Lotus blossoms would be nice. Little patches on the water, yeah, would be cool. Do you have a Japanese garden? Yeah. See, I thought about making this one of those, I don't know the correct word for it, but one of those beautiful like Japanese structures made out of wood in red and stuff. And then I was like, do you know what? I'd like to keep this like this one, and then maybe I could do a second variation of it where it's more oriental kind of theme. So we have the cherry blossoms, you know, change the water and, you know, just change the design and like the center point to a different variation. I think that'd be really cool to come back to. Whereas this one's got more of like a tropical kind of vibe to it. I also have an idea for like a nighttime kind of themed one, you know. Now, I think I've maybe heard of it, but I can't say I've ever used it. And I definitely haven't used it, but it rings a bell, but it doesn't at the same time. What's your perfect plans? No idea. I'm working tomorrow. It's just another day really tomorrow. But now it frees up the evening. Maybe we'll go out or something. Oh, I just realised what I was meant to do. I need to blur the horizon line as well. If I gauge and blur that out, we just get rid of that perfect line. And now this is the only thing in focus. I love that. But yeah, no plans really for tomorrow. Really, genuinely, it's just another day. I know a lot of people say that. We were talking about this, me and Mrs. Creative, saying like, I feel like sometimes it's more on the partner wanting to make sure that just like, their partner has a nice day. I genuinely don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, I have no expectation in terms of what we would do, and I genuinely don't care. Like, it is just another day. If we go out for a meal or something on the weekend, cool. But tomorrow I don't really care. But it's more on the partner wanting to make sure that their partner has a nice day, and that's where I think the pressure comes from. It's not so much the person who genuinely says that they don't care is being genuine, but it doesn't really matter. Joel, I did the sunset deer from your Patreon tutorials, and my wife was like, you should sell that. First time she said that. I also told her that Joel would I'm guessing you mean wouldn't appreciate me selling his IP for profit. Yeah, I actually get message about that all the time. Did your design, do you mind if I is there any option? Somebody asked me recently as well if there was an option to buy like a commercial license. I get asked it all the time, but I cannot approve it at all. I'm just getting in here now with a little bit more contrast underneath some of the near ones, like here. Might just blend this one down, give it because this is right in front of us. We can just like introduce a bit of a larger shadow to it. Oh, I love this. I really, really love this. It's painting output for serious painting, like thick paints. No, fair enough. But I mean, yeah, I didn't even say. I mean, but the thing is, like, we went to Silverstone on Sunday, so we watched the F1, and that was absolutely unreal. And that's kind of like it's not like there's nothing happening around it. We went to the F1, it was freaking awesome. Got out on the track at the end, watched the podium. It was awesome. It was so good. First time I've ever been, and I'll be going again next year. So yeah, it's not like we've not done anything sort of near here really. Artset is a very interesting app, I've got it on here. It's a very, very interesting app. No, I like that brighter tone. I've got to be a bit more adventurous from time to time and like put those extra brighter tones in there. I noticed in the other variation that there was like even more green on here. I think there was like some really bright green on those edges. I'm wondering whether or not one of those was maybe set to like add. Maybe not. Add. And I think we can maybe peel that one back just a tiny bit. It also looks pretty good without the frame, like something like this. I think it looks really clean, really minimal, but it also looks like it could be a little bit boring. And I like it with the frame. It's again that kind of like story of like popping your head through like some bushes and then you see this and you're like, wow, that's awesome. That's kind of the vibe. What was I going to do? Let's try and maybe just darken up some of these a little bit. These back areas up here. Yeah, it's freaking awesome. It was very, very cool. And like, we got there at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's lots of other events happening as well. There's FP, there's F3, 2, obviously 1, but there was also like a Porsche GT3 event in the middle, and that was unreal because they're not like hybrids; they're still like V6 or V8s or whatever. It was so good, real rumble deep inside, like your stomach when you can feel it. It's just like, it was awesome. I do love the F1, I really do. Ryan says the frame tells me someone is spying on this magical gate. Yeah, exactly. It's just that little peek through, you know. The only thing I've kind of done differently, which I'm trying to work out how it's happened, the colours are completely... They were meant to be imbalanced. So you're meant to have this bush down here be slightly of a more darker green and up there a bit brighter. But somehow I've managed to make them all the same tones, yet they're not the same tones. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe I'll redo it in a second. But yeah, I don't know what's happened. Okay, we did that. Is there anything else I'm kind of missing? I don't think there is. Okay, so, but the last one had a bit of a darker center to it. So I'm going to try and be a bit bold with maybe like the water's this color, but that's the sky's that color. I'm wondering if I get in here with some painting in the Nico, if I was to go like through the center here. It's all right. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I don't mind the odd little sort of patch of that blue tone. That nicely just... This is what I mean. This is where you can get really kind of just over the top streaky with it by just introducing color and color and color and just see what you like. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then again, well, that's not the actual finish frame because we've got this frame that goes on top. So like that's pretty much like your end result, you know. We've got like the Nico roll around the outside and the other brush, I can't remember what it is, but I'd already done it and I really liked it, so I'm going to keep it. But you know, that is somewhat the end result. I'm going to go back in there and make adjustments, but that's pretty much it. Like I don't want it to be too long. I don't want to sort of fret over certain elements and stuff. I want to just crack on and create this kind of scene, which I really, really like the look of. Looking at other, I love the fact that this is the only thing in focus. Like, arguably, I think like if I was to say duplicate the shadows and then even darken them, like you could to an extent get away with like taking them up a little bit more to make it really, really contrasty, but it's probably not necessary. Okay, one thing I'm going to experiment with is a new frame of leaves. It also looks really cool like this, so I feel like you get like a lot of different variations. You can decide which one you prefer the look of and just do what you want. Let's try and just create some like larger trees, but make them a little bit less dense. See, that one's nice because it's a little bit different to the other side. I like the sort of uneven frame of the two of them. That's fine. We'll leave some nice gaps in there. And then this colour here is the one that we used down here. So this bush should be a different colour. And a different height and a different shape. We want to make sure that both sides are a little bit different to one another. But also I feel like a little bit that just maybe just comes in a little bit more narrow here in the middle. We'll just kind of just show that kind of, I said that a lot then. Just kind of wrap the scene in a bit more, kind of just hide those little areas down there. I'm going to jump quickly a second to, where's my mouse? I'm going to jump quickly to the previous version I made. I just want to quickly check the blend modes that I used. Oh, we actually used a yellowy tone. Is it yellow? What is that? Oh, is that the bright tone? Oh, okay, fair. That's why. We use that tone instead, which then, yeah, okay, makes sense. Let's get back into here. Let's get back so you guys can see. Okay, we're going to get back up into here though. We are going to introduce some more brighter petals on the edges. So like this one over here on the left, because that light source is going straight up into there. That one on the left can be a little bit more green. Have some nicer greener patches to the edge of it a bit more. Couple brighter areas along there, and then this one can, but it just needs to be like a little bit on the edge on the underside only. That's it. Just leave the two of them a little bit different. I think that's okay. I think we can. No, do you know what? Let's just try that, because I like how sparing that all is. Gaussian blur. Let's bring that up to around about 6%. That's fine. I think I might have even done that last time. And then merge them together. Let's try that for a sec. Let's clip and mask that to there. It was in fact, we'll grab the darker tone first of all. Set that to like overlay. We'll darken up the back end of this one over here. Just trying to darken up the back edge of it where that lighting's not touching. A few darker, actually they need to be the wrong color or the right color. A little bit of darkness down here. Gaussian blur them too. Nicely done. And then we'll create another new layer. We'll go to, I believe it's this color. We'll go along this edge here, set that to overlay, which just really brings out those greens. That is exactly the color that we used last time. Can add in a tiny bit on the top of here, tiny bit more over here, because that's light source dependent. So we can add in quite a few more on there. A couple of light patches on there, but more so on this side. Oh, I love that. And then we Gaussian blur that too. I think I even duplicated it as well, just to really punch out those greens. That one's not too bad. I mean, that one compared to the opposite, which was, that's done correctly. Let's put it that way. That was the last one. That one's a little bit more sparing. Yeah, I've gone much less on the frame to this one. But this one has much better color and lighting. Thank you, Milo. I appreciate it. Let me catch up. Rob's, Jay says, what was the brush used for the jack-o'-lantern last week? Studio pen? Studio pen and calligraphy, I think it was. Under inking, studio pen. That is a tutorial that will be out in October. Where yet, we do not know, but we shall see. I like this. I think there could be something here where we like I don't know, like there could be something where we just have like little bits drop down from here, but I don't want to overdo the blurring. Like it's nice and blurred out. It's not too much. It's a bit heavy, but we could add additional things onto that kind of frame. You know, it could be anything from like a green. I don't know. What if it was like a vine or something? Just like it's like trying to make it a little bit kind of I don't know, a bit more like foresty. Like, let's roll with that for a minute. Everybody, calm down. If you don't like it, hold fire. Yeah, and then a couple like curtain style lines. I don't have a clue what type of tree this is that I've somewhat created, but you know, I think this adds like a bit more of like an ancient kind of vibe to it. If we were to Gaussian blur them out to the same degree, 6%. What do we think? I'm not sure that they're potentially that's the right color. Like if we went to hue saturation and we made them like a little bit more browny, maybe a little bit like that. Interesting. I feel like if I need to do that, I've got to do it with a way where like it without, but that's just me. This is what these live streams are really about though, is just like getting that time to just experiment. I also can, you know, run things past my my bosses, i.e. you guys, see what you think, but as always, you know, it's optional. You don't have to do anything. I always try to mention that in my tutorials as well, you know, this part here is optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you like your design at this point, that's just something I'll always say. It's like, you know, if you like your design at this stage, leave it. It's the difference between an artist and someone who watches the artist, brackets me. You're the bosses though. You're the bosses. Don't you forget that. Yeah, see, like that looks better, right? That looks better. That's a 4% Gaussian blur. And the difference, the vines never would have occurred to me. What if you like the vines, gives it an illusion of being very into the forest? They're on a separate layer. We can come back to them. I mean, let's have a look. Let's have a look with and without. You know, this is the one I did last time, and then this is the new one. Like I am starting to think that they might be the best thing to do, because they frame that they focus you more in the middle. They tell you to stop looking at this space and this space. This looks blank. Again, I've only drawn this once, which is this one you're looking at right now earlier today. This area down here is not dense enough at all. We haven't brought the trees down far enough. Whereas the one we've done today, the trees come down a little bit more. They're a bit more dense. They've got a lot more contrast to them as well. They should be more contrasted because they're closer to us. Things that are closer to us should appear darker, and things that are further away should be a little bit lighter. And then in this instance, because the mountains are further away and we've got quite a lot of blue going on, that's why they then turn into this bluey hue. This is almost now, in my opinion, a bit more perfectly balanced between contrast of near to far. I could potentially have a case to say this one, that these rocks need adjusting near to far. You know, these ones closer to us could do with being maybe darker. But yeah, I can't be bothered right now. Or maybe I will. Maybe I will. Milo likes them. Ryan likes them. Yeah, now I see the before and after. It looks good. Cool. Let's just take a screenshot though. And I can redo the blur. That's cool. I like them a lot. I'm wondering whether or not like this is experimental territory. So again, everybody relax if you don't like it. Relax yourself. We're in experimental zone right now. I'm thinking like, could we do something with like a bit of a unsaturated green maybe? And could we do something where like all of this is where arguably I'm just doing stuff for the sake of doing it, like wrapping this round, like maybe introducing some green onto these like ledges now, so like a little bit of green onto here, and maybe it rolls down onto here. I can get in there with more tones in a second, but like a little bit of green on there, and then maybe the like sort of vines and stuff, they crisscross and make their way up and down here and kind of wrap around the column. They go round, they disappear in certain areas, they break off around here and make their way up from the bottom. That gives it like a bit more of like a different vibe. Did I just see Rob's off? Rob's, thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. See you again next week. What if we go along here? This is looking very cool with the vines, I've got to say. I've like ruined my highlights and shadows quite a bit, but I'll fix them in a second. Now it just has like a really cool, like just aged kind of, this could have been something like, I don't know, like a temple, not temple, but like some sort of like mystical like area. It's hard to kind of word it really. You know, it's got some sort of maybe powers or something. I don't know. It's like believed to have some sort of powers, you know, all that kind of creativity and stuff that we can try and imagine and break down the image into a story as well. See, we always want to add more, we do, and then we end up sitting here for hours on end trying to work it all out, and then I've got to record the bugger. But that looks so much cooler. Like a portal, yeah, or just, I don't know, in ancient times it used to be something, who knows. What if we like then like hung one across there maybe? What if there was one that also just made its way across there too? Trying to make sure that both sides are a little bit different. And then what if we then do that? I'm going to duplicate it and just turn it off so I've got a backup. I'm going to alpha lock it, grab the brighter green, and now just get in there and try and brighten up the edges that are facing the light source a bit more. So like a bit of green here, a bit of green there. That's going to help them just stand out a bit more. That's quite fun actually. Quite a fun little I always take screenshots. It's just, if you think it's weird, what it is like I take screenshots because then I can go back to the screenshots like tomorrow, for example, if I was to record this tomorrow or whatever, and I always have this kind of inkling as to what point I need to take screenshots, you know, to remind myself, okay, you used this color at this point, you used, you know, this at this stage and stuff like that. And now those highlights are technically not fully incorrect, but let's just get in there now with like the shadow tone again and get behind some of these vines here, shadow in there behind them a bit more, really try and make them stick to the surface. I'm just sort of drawing behind. If they're on a surface here, you just need to kind of just add a shadow underneath them just to let them sit on top of the surface. Let's get down here too. This little bit of under shadow really does do the trick, doesn't it? Helps it really stand off. I'm liking this so much more with this on that I think it's definitely going to end up being part of the final, I think. Oh, this layer. What if we just add a few brighter tones way up here where the lighting is really bright. Here, a bit here too, a bit more along this ledge here. A bit more on there, that's beautiful. Little dashes along these edges. Along that top surface. Maybe a little bit on there. Some of these that are hanging down, they'll get caught by the light. Just run some streaks through them. Run some on here as well, because that surface there is definitely getting hit by a good amount of light that's beaming through there. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. It's definitely looking very cool, isn't it? I really like this. I really like this a lot. I think now with the vines here and the vines there, it ties the whole kind of scene together a bit more. It's cohesive, you know. It's back to front, kind of matching. That was the dry ink, and that worked an absolute wonder. Very cool, very cool. So I still think I'd do it in exactly the same way. Highlight shadows, then vines, then shadow vines, and then, yeah. You could get away with, like, you know, being a bit more experimental here and being like, well, what if we grab the color again, which it's not that color. Where did this green come from? And we didn't use that brownie color either. That one can go. You could get a bit more experimental here and, well, turn off the alpha lock for a sec. You know, like really create some big areas of green. Like if the light's coming around that side every time, like every day, that's probably going to get quite green, you know. Chuck a bit more on there. Jim Bob, it makes me think of something from ancient Greece or Babylon. I like that. I like that vibe. Dry ink really worked well. It did a very good job. And they're like, again, pretty easy kind of details. The fineness of that, where they just dangle down, looks fantastic. I'm so happy with that. I think like up here, like I could get away with really, again, if I'm just trying to sort of experiment here with maybe just like a large blob of green up there, but I don't want to ruin that look. No, I think that's maybe fine. Let's see then if there is a case to be had then for also creating kind of a similar aesthetic to the top of some of these rocks, like where maybe like there's just a little bit of green, you know, just like little patches of green on the top of the rock here and there, just little areas, just a little something like that. And then let's just alpha lock that for a second. Add some, that's not the only green, was it? It was this green first. Yeah, add a bit of green on them too. And then a tiny bit of like this brighter green on the edge there. And then if you were to add in a layer underneath that and make that this color, again, that kind of like shadowy tone. That's pretty cool. It's really, it's sod all detail. It's sod all sort of space, it's arguably not the correct thing to do because there's such a small amount of space there. But oh well, what if we add in like a little bit of green on this one too? Again, kind of like some sort of growing green that just makes its way around the rock. Definitely on this one here, for example, we can like create those very cool lines and avenues over the rock and stuff. Just experimenting, seeing what we can come up with. And then what if we like run a line down here as well, around the edge of the rock. All runs into like a central sort of point. I'll leave that rock there, that's fine. You don't have to do every single one as always. Get some green in here and try and just like edge out a few of those lines. A few of the big spots in there. Draw a little bit in there too, that's cool. This one up here, this one looks great. I'm really pleased with this one. That's nice. Get a bit of that brighter green on there as well. On the top edges of some of these lines. It's the shadow in a minute though that you put underneath it that to me just really helps this kind of stand out. Like it makes it look at the minute like it's on top of the surface obviously, but it doesn't quite sort of fit within its surroundings. Whereas in a sec now where we go to this layer, add in that little bit of shadow underneath. Let's do this one first. Nice. Let's make the brush size a bit bigger over here. That's pretty cool. I pretty like that. I really like that. It looks pretty good. Oh, 10%. The vines changes everything, gives it a whole another level to the painting. It really does. It's taken it to a completely different. Again, let's just take a look at where we were to what we've done in this live stream. We were replicating this. Very kind of minimal, had that painting look to it, whereas now it's kind of gone to a level where we've really look at the difference between how much framing it has. Empty space here, and then the framing of the vines just tells you I'm out of focus. You don't need to look here. I'm out of focus. I'm just filling the space. Look at this. Look at the center of your design. Don't look at this. Look over there. I love that. I love that a lot. The only thing really I would say is like if I was to duplicate this group and flatten it into one layer, I would think that this framing over here needs to be darker. Like that's arguably more correct. That focus, like the difference between that and what do we get down to? Maybe about 45. That again, the greens are toned down and it tells you again to look in the center. I would argue that that is better. Maybe 46 just to not go too mad. Could drop the saturation down. Could even increase the saturation. Dropping it looks a little bit better, but I like the green. That looks a bit. We duplicated the layer so we can triple check the difference. It's a subtle change, but I feel like that might be the one. Darker is better. It should always be darker when it's closer to you as well. Again, things get lighter and more faint the further they get away from you. Let's also just see what we can do about these rocks. Where is there something we can do where we duplicate them, click that in as well, and then is there a blend mode here? Just out of curiosity, that darkens them up like that. But we then mask that out. Oh, airbrushing, medium, soft. Well, we just blend that out so the ones that are further away a little bit lighter and the ones that are a bit closer to us a bit darker. Makes a bit more sense, but I'm not sure I like it. And technically, should they be out of focus? Like, should this one here be out of focus? Like, if we went to Gaussian blur and we went to the pencil variation, could we blur that out, blur this one out, and then go to this layer and do the same? And then blur that out too. It's just making it transparent at this point. You could argue that that needs to be out of focus just a tiny bit, but in terms of actually doing it, like, it's just a bit of ball ache really at this point. To just blur that out a little bit maybe. I'll try and factor it in maybe into the actual design. Technically they should be, but I don't know if I want to. How could I do that next time? This has come out very, very well. I'm very, very pleased with this. Cool. And then we've got the awesome framing, which again, in this instance, I'm not sure it's necessarily required. You know, you could just do that. That's kind of nice. It brings it back in. I don't know. It's just like that extra element. Again, optional. That just looks like a photo. If it was to be more detailed, that makes it look like it was just meant to be a painting. You can see the color hue just changing on my iPad now when it goes into sleep mode. Well, we're gonna wrap it. We're gonna wrap it there because I started late, and yeah, I don't wanna be on too long. Sometimes when I finish these live streams and it goes on a bit like just beyond 10 and stuff, like just that little bit of difference. I'm just sat in bed and I'm like drawing. That's all I can think about, layers and colors and this and that. Whereas this bad boy has turned out awesome. Let's screenshot that. That color hue that's changing right now actually looks very, very nice. I'm going to stop it before it happens because I don't want to see it in a different variation. I like this one. I like this one. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a last minute decision, of course, to do this live stream. So we're obviously not one tomorrow. Be back next week. I'll be back next week, of course. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. This week we do have a painting design on YouTube. If you were here a couple of weeks ago when I did the kind of gate, the fence in the middle of the field painting with like the hills and trees in the background, you'll know what I mean. That's out this week on YouTube. Next week I've got an infinity pool design, which patrons will get like a sneak peek of, I would imagine, on either like Friday / well, probably Monday actually, sorry. And we just released the latest Patreon exclusive as well. If you haven't already seen it, the Misty Cabin on the Lake design. I'll very quickly show you before we wrap it. But that one went live yesterday on Patreon. No, it went live today. This one, which you saw months ago here on a live stream, this one is now eventually available to patrons, and we've got this awesome cabin on the side of the lake with this beautiful misty design. It was part of a trio of misty designs that I did, and this one's going to be this one's available on Patreon now. Tomorrow I'm going to share another sneak peek of the next Patreon tutorial. This month we've kind of had 2 that are a little bit sort of medium difficulty / maybe a little bit higher. So the next one is a little bit more simple, but it's very, very cool. Like a leather and gold design. So you'll see that come tomorrow. If you're on Patreon, be sure to keep an eye out for that. The feed on Patreon has changed. It's so much more cleaner. I went through everything today, deleted every sneak peek that's ever happened. That's no longer, actually a sneak peek because it's already out. So it's cleaned up. Early access has been changed. The feed is so much. I cannot be more happy with the feed. When you scroll back through it now, it's just every post is a different. It doesn't relate to the one above in any way. It's just different tutorial after different tutorial after different tutorial, and so on and so on. Whether it's my YouTube ones or it's my Patreon ones, which I'm so happy with. I'm very glad I got around to doing that. That is just part of a change that when I asked everybody on Patreon what they'd like to see, that was just one of them, and yeah, I got straight on with it, and it looks awesome. So yeah, if you haven't already checked out Patreon, there's a link in the description down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Tuesday night. So I appreciate you just deciding to change your week for me if you've hung out with me. Have a wonderful week. Next time you see me, I'll be 30. So I'll probably like lose all my hair overnight or something. Who knows? Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you again next week, of course. Much love to every single one of you. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.